The packed Atlanta courtroom smelled of old wood and cheap coffee. Kesha Williams, 24, black, no college degree, stood in an orange jumpsuit, wrists cuffed, while Judge Harrison Foster laughed so hard he had to wipe tears from his eyes. 9 languages? He wheezed, slapping the bench. Miss Williams, this isn't America's Got Talent. The prosecutor, Marcus Thompson, smirked and waved a thick file. Your Honor, the defendant claims fluency in English, Spanish, French, Mandarin, Arabic, German, Russian, Japanese, and Portuguese. She grew up in Mechanicsville projects. No degree. The fraud is obvious. Kesha's voice cut through the laughter, calm and ice cold. I never said I had a degree. I said I speak 9 languages. There's a difference. Foster rolled his eyes. Fine. Let's humor her. Demonstrate. Kesha smiled for the first time. Not nervous. Not angry. Dangerous. I will, but not for your entertainment. For the truth. She turned to the prosecutor. Global Tech lost a $2 million contract because of my incorrect Mandarin translation, correct? Thompson nodded smugly. Tell me, Mr. Thompson, do you speak Mandarin? Silence. Kesha continued. Because the Beijing partner wrote back. This is the most culturally accurate translation we received in 5 years. Would you like me to read the original email in perfect Beijing dialect? Thompson's face went white. Kesha didn't wait. She switched to flawless Mandarin, reciting the exact email word for word, tone perfect, regional accent included. Gasps rippled through the gallery. She switched to Arabic, then Russian, then Japanese, each language flowing like water. 30 seconds. For languages. 0 hesitation. Judge Foster's mouth hung open. Kesha locked eyes with him. You laugh because a black girl from the projects couldn't possibly be this good. That laugh just cost you your career. She turned to the gallery. And it's about to cost 3 companies hundreds of millions. A retired UN ambassador, Dr. James Morrison, stood up in the back row. Your Honor, may I approach? I've worked with Miss Williams on 3 classified diplomatic missions. Her translations saved lives. Foster banged the gavel weakly. This is highly irregular. Kesha cut him off. Irregular is judging a woman's talent by her zip code. The cameras zoomed in. Live stream chat exploded. Hashtag Mechanicsville Genius was trending in under 5 minutes. Kesha wasn't done. She looked straight into the nearest camera. 3 companies framed me because I was better than their Harvard graduates and cheaper. Today the world finds out who the real frauds are. Foster tried to regain control. Recess. 2 hours. But as the guards moved to take Kesha away, an elderly Asian woman in the gallery stood up, eyes full of tears. I taught that girl Mandarin when she was 14 for free in a library basement. She held up her phone. And I just sent the evidence that will bury every single one of you. Kesha met her old teacher's eyes and nodded once. The trap was sprung. What nobody in that courtroom knew was that in the last 72 hours, while Kesha sat in a jail cell, an army of whistleblowers, ex-clients, and forgotten geniuses had been activated. The judge's laughter had just pressed the detonator. And in exactly 2 hours, when court resumed, the entire system was about to be exposed in 4K, live, in 9 languages. The courtroom doors reopened after the 2-hour recess. The energy had completely flipped. Judge Foster walked in pale, robe wrinkled, eyes avoiding the cameras. Prosecutor Thompson looked like he hadn't slept in days. Kesha Williams stood taller than ever. No cuffs now. Flanked by Dr. James Morrison, former UN ambassador, and Mrs. Chun, the retired teacher who once taught her Mandarin in a library basement for free. The gallery was packed. CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera. Every major outlet had rush reporters in. Phones were banned, but everyone knew the live feeds outside were blowing up. Foster cleared his throat. Miss Williams, proceed. Kesha didn't speak right away. She let the silence cook them. Then she turned to projector Daniel Park had set up. Slide 1. Internal Global Tech email. Dated 2 weeks after Kesha delivered a perfect translation. Executive 1. Her work is flawless, but she has no degree. We can't pay someone from the projects that much. Executive 2. Call it quality issues and blacklist her. Problem solved. Gasps. Camera shutters like machine guns. Slide 2. Diplomatic Solutions. Premium versus experimental translator lists. All Black and Latino names. Kesha's included on the experimental list, automatically rejected after first job no matter the quality. Slide 3. Audio recording. International Aid Foundation Board meeting. CEO. Her Russian translation kept the refugees' raw emotion. The Harvard guy made it sound like a tax form. UN rejected it. We'll blame her and keep the expensive contract with the Ivy League guy. Judge Foster's hands were shaking. Kesha spoke, voice steady thunder. 3 companies. 1 pattern. Talented translators without degrees, especially Black and brown ones, get sabotaged so the rich, connected, pale ones keep the contracts. She clicked to the next slide, a list of 17 other translators with the exact same story. Photos, emails, recorded calls. These are my brothers and sisters you buried. Today they rise. Mrs. Chun stood up, tears rolling. I taught half of them, for free, because talent doesn't need tuition. It needs opportunity. Dr. Morrison placed a thick UN folder on the bench. Sealed testimonies from heads of state, refugee agencies, and Fortune 500 CEOs. Every single one says Kesha Williams is the best translator they've ever hired. Some begged her to work exclusively for them. Thompson tried one last move. Your Honor, these documents weren't disclosed. Kesha cut him off in perfect Arabic, then switched to Russian, then Portuguese, reciting the exact legal code that allows emergency evidence in cases of civil rights violations. The courtroom was dead silent. Even Foster forgot to breathe. Then Kesha dropped the final bomb. She looked straight at Judge Foster. 3 days ago you laughed and said, how the hell would a Black girl from the project speak 9 languages? That clip has 42 million views right now. The Judicial Conduct Board called you during recess. Twice. Foster's phone buzzed again on the bench. He didn't dare look. Kesha continued. Global tech stock dropped 18% in the last 90 minutes. Diplomatic Solutions just fired their entire executive board. International Aid Foundation's CEO resigned on Twitter 10 minutes ago. She stepped closer to the bench. You wanted a demonstration, Your Honor. Here it is. Talent doesn't need permission. It just needs the mic. Then she did something nobody expected. She turned to the cameras and spoke in fluent Mandarin, subtitled on every screen. To every kid watching this in the projects, in the favelas, in the refugee camps. They will laugh at you. They will lie about you. They will try to bury you. But if you keep learning, keep grinding, one day you'll stand in their courtroom and bury them with the truth. The gallery erupted. People were crying, cheering, standing. Foster slammed the gavel weakly. Order. But it was too late. Kesha raised one hand. Silence fell instantly. One last thing. She pulled out her phone. Press play. A new video. Judge Foster at a private fundraiser last year. Drunk, laughing. Give me a translator from Mechanicsville over Harvard any day? Please. We know where real talent comes from. The courtroom froze. Kesha smiled, motioned to dismiss all charges, with prejudice, and a federal investigation into this court for systemic bias. See you at the appeal, Your Honor. She walked out, free, head high, orange jumpsuit still on, but looking like royal robes. Behind her, Judge Harrison Foster put his head in his hands as the cameras flashed. He had laughed at the wrong woman, and the whole world had just watched the consequences begin. 6 months later, the orange jumpsuit was a distant memory. Kesha Williams sat in a glass office on the 42nd floor of the United Nations headquarters in New York. Title on the door, Chief of Multilingual Strategic Communications. 6-figure salary. 9-language contract. Global respect. The 3 companies that tried to destroy her. Global Tech filed Chapter 11. Diplomatic Solutions was acquired for pennies by a Black-owned translation collective Kesha helped fund. International Aid Foundation dissolved after federal fraud charges. Its former CEO took a plea and is now banned from any nonprofit work for life. Judge Harrison Foster forced retirement at 58. His pension slashed. Currently teaching night school civics to high school dropouts for minimum wage. Prosecutor Marcus Thompson lost his law license. Last seen working the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A outside Atlanta. Customers still recognize him and ask, in 9 different languages, "Would you like fries with that?" But Kesha wasn't finished. She had saved the biggest bomb for last. 1 year to the day after the Courtroom explosion, Kesha announced the launch of the Kesha Williams Global Language Justice Initiative, a $180 million fund. Seed money from every government and corporation that once hired her anonymously to find, train, and place genius translators in the world's most forgotten corners. First class. 200 kids, ages 12 to 18, from slums, refugee camps, and housing projects in 47 countries. All expenses paid. All 9 languages taught by former victims of the same system that tried to bury Kesha. Mrs. Chun, now 72, became dean of faculty. Dr. Morrison, chairman of the board. Daniel Park built an unhackable platform that live streams every class, so any kid with a phone can learn for free. Opening ceremony was held in the exact same Atlanta courtroom, now renamed Courtroom 9A, Kesha Williams Hall of Justice. Kesha walked in wearing a custom suit the color of sunrise. Judge's bench? Gone. Replaced by a round table where students sat as equals. She took the microphone. 1 year ago, I stood here in chains while a man in a robe laughed at what I could do. Today, his robe is in a museum, and this room belongs to the future. She pointed to the first row. 17 translators who had come forward during her trial, the same ones on the slide that broke the case. These are my brothers and sisters you tried to silence. Today, they are the highest paid language experts on earth. Then she introduced the surprise guest. A tall, graying man in a cheap suit walked in nervously. Judge Harrison Foster. The room went dead silent. Kesha spoke softly. Many of you wanted him banned from this building forever. I invited him. She turned to Foster. You laughed at me. You lost everything because of it. But I'm not here to keep kicking a man who's down. I'm here to offer you a job. Foster's eyes filled with tears. Kesha continued. Every week you will sit with our students and teach them civics, the real version, how the system is supposed to work, and how it failed. You will tell them your mistakes in detail so they never repeat them. You don't get paid. You don't get forgiveness. You get a chance to be useful again. Foster could barely speak. I accept. Kesha nodded once. Redemption isn't free, but it's possible. She turned back to the students. Never forget, they will laugh, they will lie, they will lock you up. But if you keep learning, one day you'll own the room they tried to keep you out of. The students stood and applauded until the walls shook. Later that night, Kesha stood alone on the courthouse steps. A reporter asked a question everyone wanted answered. After everything they did, why give Foster a second chance? Kesha looked up at the stars. Because destroying him was easy. Teaching the next generation how to turn hate into lesson, that's power. She smiled the same dangerous smile from the day she was laughed at. Talent doesn't need permission. But justice? Justice needs witnesses. And somewhere in the city, a 13-year-old girl in Mechanicsville watched a live stream on a cracked phone, repeating Kesha's Mandarin phrases word for word. The circle was complete. But the revolution was just getting started. 10 years later, the Kesha Williams Global Language Justice Institute wasn't just a school anymore. It was the most powerful language authority on the planet. Headquarters, a gleaming 40-story tower in downtown Atlanta, built on the exact spot where the old Mechanicsville projects used to stand. Every brick paid for by the settlements from the companies that once tried to destroy her. 32,000 students from 187 countries, all discovered the same way Kesha was. Raw talent, no degree required. Graduates now ran translation departments at the UN, EU, African Union, and every major tech giant. Their contracts contain one non-negotiable clause. 30% of all jobs must go to non-degree holders from marginalized communities. The world had changed because one woman refused to stay quiet. But some wounds don't heal. They scar. Judge Harrison Foster showed up every Tuesday and Thursday for 10 straight years. Same cheap suit. Same seat in the back of classroom 9A. He never missed a session. He told the students everything, every racist thought, every lazy assumption. Every second of that day, he laughed at Kesha. Some students walked out. Some cried. Some forgave. One day, a 16-year-old boy from Somalia asked him, "Sir, do you still believe black people from the projects can't be geniuses?" Foster's answer was only 4 words, voice cracking. "I was the idiot." Kesha watched from the doorway, silent. She never spoke to him directly again. Some boundaries are sacred. Then came the invitation that shocked the world. Harvard University, yes, that Harvard, offered Kesha an endowed chair, professor of linguistic justice, tenured, $2.4 million salary. The same university whose graduates once sabotaged her work. Kesha's reply went viral in 8 minutes. "Thank you, but I already have a job. I teach the kids you still won't admit." Harvard's endowment lost $180 million in donations the following week. Alumni wrote checks directly to Kesha's institute instead. The old guard was crumbling, but the final chapter was still waiting. One quiet Friday evening, Kesha's assistant buzzed her office. "Ma'am, there's someone here to see you. No appointment. Says it's personal." Kesha looked up from her desk. In the doorway stood a thin, gray man in a prison-issue coat, Marcus Thompson, the prosecutor who tried to send her away for life. He looked 20 years older than his age. Kesha didn't stand up. "What do you want?" Thompson's voice was barely a whisper. I got released last month. Felony evidence tampering. 5 years served." He held out a thick envelope with shaking hands. "I wrote this for you. Every year on the anniversary. Never had the courage to send it." Kesha didn't take it. Thompson dropped to his knees, right there in her office. "I destroyed lives before you. After you, the courts finally looked. 12 cases overturned because of what you exposed. 12 people freed." He placed the envelope on the floor. "I don't want forgiveness. I just want you to know your nightmare became their freedom." He stood, turned to leave. Kesha finally spoke. "Thompson." He froze. "Sit down." He obeyed like a child. She opened a drawer, pulled out an application form. "Every year we accept one former oppressor into our redemption program. You will clean toilets, serve food, and listen to every student tell you exactly how people like you ruined their families. For 5 years. No pay, no recognition. At the end, if they vote yes, you get to teach ethics to the next class." Thompson was crying openly now. "I'll do it. Anything." Kesha slid the form across the desk. "Sign." He did, hand shaking so badly the pen skipped. Kesha watched him. "Red doesn't wash out, but it can fade if you scrub hard enough." Thompson nodded, took the form, and walked out. Kesha stared at the door for a long time. Then she opened the envelope he left behind. Inside was a single photograph. The original courtroom the day she was laughed at. On the back, in shaky handwriting, "You were right. The system didn't fail you. We did. Thank you for forcing us to become better. MT." Kesha closed her eyes. 10 years of rage. 10 years of building. And finally, the last chain broke. She whispered to the empty room, "It's finished." But it wasn't, because outside her window, across the city that once tried to bury her, 32,000 new voices were rising, speaking 9 languages and more, carrying her story into every corner of the world. The girl from Mechanicsville had won, not by destroying her enemies, but by turning their hate into the tallest tower Atlanta had ever seen. 25 years after the laughter. The year is 2050. Kesha Williams, now 49, silver streaks in her braids, stands on the roof of the tallest building in the Southern Hemisphere. The Kesha Williams World Translation Tower, Johannesburg, 108 stories, 0 carbon. Built entirely by graduates of her institute. Below her, 3.2 million former street kids, refugees, and project children, now diplomats, CEOs, surgeons, presidents, speak 312 languages fluently because one woman refused to stay cuffed. The United Nations General Assembly has been moved here for one day only. Every head of state is present. The agenda has only one item: to retire the old Universal Declaration of Human Rights and adopt the new one, written in 193 languages, led by the Kesha Williams Institute. Kesha walks to the podium in a simple white suit. No notes, no teleprompter. She speaks. An entire planet hears her in their mother tongue simultaneously, live translated by her students. 50 years ago, a judge laughed because a black girl from the project said she spoke 9 languages. Today, 3 billion people are hearing me in their own language because that girl never shut up. The hall erupts. She waits for silence. I was never angry at the laughter. I was angry that the world decided talent had a skin color, a zip code, and a tuition fee. So we removed the price tag. She raises one hand. Every screen on earth shows the same image. The original courtroom photo. Kesha in orange, Judge Foster laughing. Then it morphs into today. The same courtroom, now a classroom filled with children from 100 nations, all raising their hands. One room, 2 futures. They laughed in one. They learn in the other. She turns to the back of the stage. A wheelchair rolls forward. Judge Harrison Foster, 83 years old, frail, eyes wet. He has not missed a single Tuesday or Thursday class in 25 years. Kesha kneels beside him, so the microphone catches both voices. Tell them, she says gently. Foster's voice is barely a whisper, but the system carries it to every corner of the planet. I was a fool who laughed. I spent the rest of my life making sure no child ever had to stand where she stood. If I have any legacy, it is this. I became the cautionary tale so they could become the success story. He reaches out, trembling hand on hers. Thank you for letting an old bigot become useful. Kesha helps him stand, barely, and together they face the world. The new Universal Declaration is unveiled. Article 1 now reads, every human being is born with the right to be believed when they say what they can do, regardless of where they were born, how they look, or what papers they hold. 193 countries sign it in real time. Then Kesha does the last thing anyone expects. She steps away from the podium. A 12-year-old girl from the Democratic Republic of Congo, discovered speaking 11 languages while selling water on the street, takes her place. The girl speaks perfect French, then Swahili, then English. Madam Kesha taught us that the mic is never yours forever. You take it, you speak truth, then you pass it to the next voice they try to silence. She turns to Kesha and salutes. Your shift is over. Ours begins. Kesha smiles, tears falling freely now. She walks to the edge of the roof as fireworks in 193 colors explode across the African sky. Behind her, 3 billion people stand and applaud for 7 straight minutes. The cameras zoom in on her face. She whispers one last sentence, meant only for the girl she once was. We did it, baby. They laughed. We won. And now the whole world speaks our language. Fade to black. On screen, white text on black background. In 25 years, the Kesha Williams Institute placed 11.4 million unqualified geniuses into positions of power. Not one of them ever needed permission again.